Well, 4 days of top-level economic meetings between the U.S. and China coming to a close today. In Janet Yellen's second trip to China in 9 months, the Treasury Secretary saying that there is, quote, much more work to do in terms of diplomacy between the two nations. Secretary Yellen spoke at a press conference earlier today, recapping some of her conversations with Chinese leaders, specifically calling out concerns around China's economic strategies and the negative spillovers on the U.S. and the globe, including the country's desire to expand manufacturing in EVs, lithium-ion batteries, and solar. Let's listen.
And when the global market is flooded by artificially cheap Chinese products, the viability of American and other foreign firms is put into question. And we've seen this story before. I've made clear that President Biden and I will not accept that reality again.
Now, shortly following that presser, Secretary Yellen told CNBC at this point in a CNBC interview that at this point she would not rule out possible tariffs on green energy, saying, quote, we need to keep everything on the table. Joining us now with more going on and bring in Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman. And Rick, what's your reaction to the comments that we heard from Yellen in that presser, but also what she elaborated on just in terms of the fact that tariffs seem to still be on the table when it comes to green energy initiatives?
This went about as expected, I would say. There are some important things going on here for investors to keep in mind. People are talking about worries about a China shock 2.0 or a second China shock. So the first China shock was all the cheap Chinese imports that came into the United States and other countries around the world after China joined the WTO in 2001. And we recognized that the first China shock only after the fact because so much manufacturing left the United States. So when we talk about the second China shock, this is an effort to basically preempt another China shock in these other types of technologies and manufactured goods that, President Biden has decided these are very important to the U.S. manufacturing base, electric vehicle components, automotive components, things that are important to keep here in the United States. And that's what she's talking about. So China is just at about the beginning phase of ramping up these massive waves of exports of very cheap electric vehicles to Europe, to Africa, to Mexico, to South America. And there are worries that those could end up here. And if they do, they will significantly undercut the vehicles on the market here. So there is a very real likelihood that there will be some new U.S. tariffs going into effect. And let's remember, we learned from the Trump administration that the president can do this unilaterally. So President Trump was the one who called himself tariff man, but there is a very real chance that President Biden could be the second tariff man, putting new tariffs on some select Chinese imports, especially electric vehicle, automotive components, and possibly other types of green energy products.
And Goldman out today with a note talking about the economic implications potentially of more tariffs here on China goods. So, Rick, thanks so much for breaking all of that down for us. We really appreciate it.
Bye, guys.